Okay. We're on our way to Eureka Springs. Road trip.
This week's video is going to be a little bit different than usual. My wife Katie and I took a road trip to Eureka Springs a couple weeks ago, and we're going to cover that road trip, but we're going to put it in the context of the history of Eureka Springs and the history of some specific places within the town. Buckle up. All right, so this is our cabin. We've stayed in these cabins a couple times before, but they've got a nice fan up top, always good. And then we have bunk beds. So we have the larger bed downstairs and the smaller bed up at the top. After we got settled in, we went and had dinner with some friends, not pictured. Then once it got dark, we had our first taste of the town's history with a really fun community theater feel to it. You want to explain the premise of what we're doing tonight?
So we're going to be going on a graveyard tour tonight, and it's being put on through the Historical Society. There are paid actors who are going to be telling us more about Eureka Springs, people who used to live here, what they did, and their lives.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 15th presentation of Eureka Springs Voices of the Silent City. Follow me.
Mighty fine night for a stroll, is it not? My name is James Kaiser, and I was one of Eureka's early peace officers. I need to pay a visit to Dr. Fuller. You see, he still owes me for some of that work back in the day. I suspect he'll be heading home for the evening down Main Street. Well, I hope he's got some cash on him. Have a good evening.
I'm Dr. Lafayette Dallas Fuller, and I'm very happy to meet you. There's a local man who's been harassing me recently. I'm trying to avoid him if I possibly can. He's our former policeman, says I owe him money. Don't let my predicament concern you. I mean, it's truly an isolated incident. After some heated discussion, Kaiser shoved the doctor to the ground, kicked him, and smashed his head against a rock. After local bystanders pulled Kaiser away, the doctor crawled over to his buggy, took out his pistol, and fired 3 shots. One hit Kaiser in the arm, just above his wrist. Another hit him in the chest, right below his heart. Kaiser staggered over to a nearby livery stable for assistance, but unfortunately he perished, and is now a resident of our silent city. He's buried up by the central gates.
It was pretty fun, despite the subject matter. There were quite a few historical figures that they covered. It was pretty cool to learn a little bit about the history of the town in a fun way. It was very Halloweenish. Some of you may know that astrophotography was kind of my first photography love, and it was the new moon and the skies were clear, so of course I had to head down to the lake and do some astrophotography. The next day, we went downtown to learn a bit about the history of Eureka Springs and also the specific building that the Eureka Springs Historical Museum is in. I'd like to thank Robin at the Eureka Springs Historical Museum for all the information that she provided.
The Eureka Springs Historical Museum is a nonprofit museum started in 1971 by the Ozark Mountain Folk Festival Foundation. Eureka Springs was founded here because of the spring water, and Native Americans had been using the spring water for centuries. White settlers soon discovered the springs. There was a guy named Judge Saunders who lived in Texas. He was a pretty influential man in his area. He'd been diagnosed with infection in his legs, and doctors said it was incurable. And he had heard word of the spring water here in Eureka Springs, and he came to use the water. He was healed from this infection. So he began to tell friends and relatives, and people began to flock to the town to use the spring water. And in 1879, they came up with a name for the town. They decided on Eureka, which means I found it, and Eureka Springs for the spring water. The family that built this building, the Califf House, was Samuel and Lucy Califf. They moved here from Illinois. The building is 3 stories tall. It has 2 entrances. The entrance that you walked through this morning when you came into the museum, that was the entrance to the dry goods store. The downstairs, actually the whole building was separated by a center staircase at that time. You can see the floor has been patched here. They would have just gone down in the center of the building.
But they're very, I like the turn spindles and
Oh yeah, the details are really cool. It would have done a little turn and continued on down that way. Yeah, like you can see this patch, it kind of did a little turn and then went down to the first floor.
hike
Yeah.
to go up those stairs.
And the railing is low and I'm kind of tall and I do not like going on the third floor. I kind of get like, ooh, I'm gonna fall. On the other side of the stairs, you may notice there's 2 front doors to the museum. That was the entrance to the caliph's home. But like all the little detail on the doorknob, I think is pretty neat.
I like those old
And
locks,
this
too.
old lock that clicks. And then this is our old-fashioned doorbell. Guess I can, whoops. Whoa.
Oh, cool.
I'll ring from the outside. Fun.
There are a couple things that I find interesting about this building. First off, it's kind of separated into 2 buildings. It had a storefront on one side and a residence on the other side.
Upstairs, they rented out rooms to boarders. And in 1901, Samuel Caliph died, and Lucy moved back to Illinois to be near family. This building, the Caliph house, had a big transformation in 1948 when it got bought by the Elks Lodge. They made some major renovations. They tore the balconies off the front and back of the building. Cement blocked up all the windows in the front. Took the staircase out of the center of the building and placed it over on the side, so they had one big meeting room downstairs. At that time, I think I had read that you could buy beer and wine at local establishments, but they had hard liquor here, rumors that they had gambling machines up in the upper floors. But in 1971, the Caliph House was really blessed by being purchased by the Folk Festival Foundation, which started the 20-year process of restoring this building. They replaced the tin ceilings downstairs, had those reproduced. They weren't able to move the staircase, but they did rebuild the balconies, uncover those windows, and bring the building back to the grandeur that it was. The museum's collection was started by the Folk Festival Foundation as well. And we have archives on the 3rd floor and exhibits on the first 2 floors of the building.
Just want to warn you here, there are going to be some audio issues due to some equipment limitations, but I'm going to do my best to explain the process of photographing this museum for you. If you tilt the camera up, then it'll look like everything's kind of leaning backwards. If you tilt the camera down, it'll look like everything's leaning towards the camera, and you don't want that when you're doing interior photography. So you want the camera to be completely level. But if you do that when it's up at eye level, you'll have a whole lot of ceiling, not a whole lot of floor. So you want to get it down low, but above the level of most of the furniture. Yeah, okay. So I have a 2-second timer here. Okay, so this side used to be the dry goods store, and right now there's kind of a doorway between the dry goods side and the old residence side. It's added later,
And this is right where she said where this doorway was. This is right where the stairs would have come up and then curved around and then gone up those stairs that you showed in an earlier shot. So this used to be closed off in a stairwell, and then they opened this all up so they had that room.
So I'm trying to do a shot where both of these doorways are pictured. So I'm gonna go ahead and just focus on the distance, still at f8. Still at 1/13 of a second. Actually, I'm gonna go with 1/6 of a second at ISO 640 and take the shot. Okay, so then we're gonna head upstairs. Okay, this one I'm gonna need to open up a little bit because it's even darker in here. So we've got a whole bunch of leading lines to the door with a really cool stained glass. Okay, so that again was at 1/6 of a second at 5.6 at ISO 640.
Enter the Pioneer Room. where we have my very favorite doll, Josephine. Josephine belonged to Marie Dobbins, a woman who lived here in Eureka Springs, graduated from the Red Brick Schoolhouse in the early 1920s. And I read a lot of cool stuff about Marie, and then discovered that my favorite doll here in the Pioneer Room, Josephine, was Marie's doll. There are other dolls in here. Has anyone met Long-Nosed Susan? You can hardly blame her for her own appearance. She spent many years out in the sun, out in front of Harp's grocery store on Main Street. But she was made by Zoe Harp and maybe her sister Edna Bergdorf too. They were the daughters of Albert Pike, who in the early days, he was the police chief as well as the fire chief here in Eureka Springs.
I think another interesting fact that I just learned a second ago is that she has real human hair.
Great.
Yeah, and real Band-Aids. And when they donated her, they said the Band-Aids are historic, please leave them there.
I'm gonna do a quick interior shot of this room. Katie pointed out the quilt on this wall makes a really nice, interesting piece. There's also some good stained glass over here. So I'm gonna do an HDR of this room because I wanna be able to have the windows be like a normal brightness, but I also want the room to be a normal brightness. Hello?
Oh, something downstairs, and/or Long-Nosed Susan is mad at you.
Long-Nosed Susan, by the way, does show up in the mirror in this shot.
Eureka Springs is known as an arts community, an arts destination. We have ESSA, the Eureka Springs School of Art, that people come and take classes. But the real art school started back in 1940 with Louis Friend and his wife, Elsie, who started an art school in a home that once belonged to Carrie Nation in Hatchet Hall. And the mural that's behind me was painted by Louis Friend. He was kind of a well-known muralist. In the Great Depression, he painted a lot of those murals that are seen in post offices around this area of the world. But he and his wife started that art school, which really kind of got Eureka on the map as an arts community. Eureka Springs also is known for being in a very conservative area, but open to all sorts of individuals from all walks of life to come here, live, and be themselves. That's one of our little local campaigns, is just come be you. And I'm sure I'm butchering that a little bit from what their tagline is, but Eureka Springs has been known as an inclusive arts community and welcomes to gay and lesbian populations as well. We mentioned earlier Elsie and Louis Friend that had the art school here in Eureka. They had it in Hatchet Hall, the building that Carrie Nation used to own. And Louis had gotten pretty well known in this area because of his mural painting in local post offices for WPA projects. And he painted this mural. It depicts Carrie Nation busting up a saloon over here. More saloon action on this side. A couple people here, he's got a drink. That's Pivot Rock up at the top. Long time attraction here in Eureka Springs. I believe it's closed to the public now, but hopefully that'll reopen soon. That's pretty important to a lot of people.
So for the panorama, make sure that this is completely level. I'm pretty sure my tripod is nice and level, so I'm gonna spin this over here and see if it's still level. Then spin it over here, see if it's level, and it is. So I'm actually going to get more over here. I'm gonna have to raise the camera a bit. And it's just because most of the interesting stuff is up high. So I'm gonna raise it, move this over here. Okay, so I'm making sure to overlap all of the images by a third.
And I do want to say one more thing about here.
Please do.
You guys were at Voices last night. The first scene where there's the murder of Caliph Spring,
Yeah.
it's just right there in the park, which I thought was kind of cool.
This is the Caliph Spring. The museum itself was owned by a couple with the last name Caliph. in the late 1800s, and this spring was renamed after them because their property was right next to it. So we got rained out on Saturday and had to shoot the remainder on Sunday, so that's why I'll be wearing a different outfit for the rest of this video. After leaving the museum and the Calif Springs, our plan was to just walk around downtown and take photos of historic places like this courthouse. Downtown Eureka Springs is a nice, charming little place that's easy to walk and difficult to drive, but the light there always looks good, and the buildings have a very quaint, old look to them, and that's one of the reasons that it's on the National Registry of Historic Places.
Well, where the Basin Park Hotel stands today, there used to be a hotel called the Perry House, and the Perry House burned. Basin Park was built in that spot, but well before either one of those hotels was Basin Spring, and that's the spring that's in that big park in the center of downtown. There's a big band shell there. We have musical events there on a regular basis, and recently the Banks Foundation donated a bunch of money to the Parks District to restore that Basin Park. They redid the pavement. There was a fountain that had been sinking. They shored that up. But the water actually trickles from the cliff way above it, and there's little trails you can walk up there.
So we did find those trails that took you up to the spring. It was really cool to be able to see the original spring that brought people to the town, and this was the first little inkling of an idea that we would have that would govern the way we did the entire rest of our day. All right, so according to this, there was a gazebo here before the band shell, and the band shell was built in 21, I think. I just read the sign. If I could remember, that would be great. Yeah. So the band shell that we just showed you was built in 1921, and before that there was a gazebo. The fountaining and stuff was put in 1890. The fountaining was put in. But yeah, this is the spring that drew people to Eureka Springs initially. Nice. It's good lighting. Hi guys. Hey.
The Flatiron, it's not an old building.
It's not an old building?
Yeah, the Flatiron building is not an old building. It's a new building. It's had 3 different versions of itself, and it has burned twice. And in the 1980s, it got rebuilt. So it matches the downtown, and there was a Flatiron building there twice before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of cool.
I also think it's funny that no one just assumed that corner was bad luck, don't build there.
Right.
So earlier, when we were at the museum yesterday, we talked to her about how one of the first ever electric trolley cars was installed around here. So we have the Crescent Hotel, not the Crescent, Basin Park Hotel here. This is the Flatiron building, and then somewhere along this street is where they originally had the trolley. But I don't think we're gonna be able to find like a station or anywhere where it used to be like evidence of the trolley, but that was one other thing we were kind of looking for to say like that was kind of part of the history. The rainbow stairs are around here, and the rainbow stairs, though they were not rainbow in the mural, are on the mural.
True.
And then this would have been those rainbow steps down here, I'm assuming?
I think so. It looks like that's where that lines up. Like these buildings are no longer there. All those wooden buildings, I believe, burned. But this does look kind of like the building by New Delhi, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
After that, we got coffee at a coffee shop in the Flatiron building. We met this guy while we were there. And we saw this map in Basin Spring Park when we went back to drink our coffee there. Based on this map, we decided to go look at all of the springs that you can see on the Spring Street Historic Loop.
Well, there were initially 63 named springs within the city limits. A lot of springs, and a lot of unnamed springs. I mean, I live in this area. There's water trickling out in the rocks in my yard out in the country. But some of my favorites here in town, Sweet Spring, It's kind of like the name. There's a little spiral staircase you go down. There's beautiful flowers. The park district does a great job creating like a park-like setting for the springs, the ones that are on our public property anyway. But that's a pretty one. It's got water trickling out between the rocks.
So right now we are doing a loop of Spring Street because it has a whole bunch of the springs on it.
And this is Sweet Springs.
Sweet Spring.
Sweet Springs.
This is the trail to the spring. And down there is Spring Street. Somewhere. I'm out of shape. What'd you find?
Just a leaf.
It's a leaf.
That's a pretty colored leaf.
The trail goes off this way. And then there are these old, mysterious-looking stairs, and I heard kids giggling off in the distance creepily.
Creepily?
Happy Halloween, Katie. We went up the mystery stairs, realized we were lost, and we found some locals who helped us out, and they basically told us to go all the way back down to the beginning of the trail. So we got ourselves some nice exercise at least. We looked it up. The spring is right over there. We came up these stairs, up that way, and then walked a trail for about half to 3/4 of a mile. We were a little bit off, but hey, we're on track now, so we're good. This is Sweet Spring then. The next one is
Harding, I believe.
Harding Spring. And that's a little bit further down the road.
As we walked from one spring to the next, we would stop into little places that looked interesting to us. One of those places was an antique store, which had an extensive collection of original art pieces by Lewis and Elsie Friend, who had started the art school in Eureka Springs in 1940.
That's an interesting.
More stuff from Lewis Friend, you said?
I think, well, yeah, Lewis Friend. And this said Lewis Friend.
Katie, check out the place across the street.
Palace Bathhouse is last bathhouse still in operation. The steam cabinet came out of the Palace Bathhouse. It's been lovingly restored by our director. But we have guests get in here for little photo ops. You want to try it out?
What is it?
Hop in, Katie.
Come on, Katie. We're gonna give it.
Oh no.
Oh, are you feeling steamy vibes today, or?
Is it actually gonna steam me?
No, it's decommissioned. It doesn't actually heat up.
This is a little claustrophobic, honestly.
Okay, I'm gonna close your door. I'm gonna put this magnet on the front so you can remember where you
You're
were.
lucky I like you and that I'm willing to.
Lift your chin.
Oh, I don't know if I like this.
There you go.
I don't like.
Now they would have wrapped a towel around your neck to keep all that steam in.
Oh, this is.
It's your own private moment there in the steam cabinet.
And this is Harding Spring, huh? Nice. This is Harding Spring, and it's named after J. Emmett Harding, who is a photographer who began the tradition of making photographs of people in front of the spring as souvenirs. I think yesterday we also mentioned the Carnegie Public Library that was built in, I want to say 1912, but I can't remember. But there's the Carnegie Public Library. It's a really cool building. We just went into the annex and they're about to do some remodeling, so they're selling a whole bunch of books that are in that area. Got some good deals. All right, next spring. So this is the Crescent Spring?
Yes, Crescent Gazebo. Crescent Spring and Trail.
So it looks like this used to be a bathing pool that was fed by the spring. But that's just guessing. I haven't read the sign yet. So it looks like there's been a gazebo here for a very long time, but I think this one might be restored. Oh, this is cool. Let me get out my light.
The wooded area on the hillside above and around the spring is delineated by ordinance that appears to be oak or Sheffield Springs, described in Ordinance Number 81, dated February 15, 1886. The Sheffield family resided nearby in 1880 and may have operated the original dairy for which the hollow below this site was named.
So this was hollowed out for the dairy? Actually, maybe this is just a cave.
I think it's just part of the cave. There
This
was a
is
stone worker that came in and built a lot of stuff like around the spring.
this is definitely the creepier of the springs.
Yeah, if we came here
But
more
it's
in the
pretty
evening,
cool.
it would be like pitch black. There's no light in here.
So Grotto Springs was our last spring, and after that we decided to drive around and see what we could see. And one of the things we found was this art colony. It's a small group of buildings that are all together in the same block. And each of them is an artist's studio. We got to talk to Alan, who is one of the artists who's there in residence, and he told us a bit about the colony and some of his work as well.
The art colony, we have 9 buildings, 12 art studios, and we rent art studios to artists. And you don't have to be an open store, but you do have to be a passionate artist. Some are musicians, in fact. So this is some of my old stained glass that I have hanging. Mm-hmm. And then the big one there is out the property outside, even the stairs and the gazebo. And
Wow.
this is St. Jude, and there's my business partner there, Da Vinci Diamond. And then that's my business sign. Mm-hmm. I just leave it hang. It's too much trouble to move it all.
I'd be scared to move a bunch of glass at the same
It
time.
does get broke some of the easiest ways and unfortunate ways, things that happen.
So after visiting the art colony, we wanted to head up to the Crescent Hotel to scope it out for future photography. And while we were there, we saw the St. Elizabeth of Hungary Catholic Church. The main building on this property was finished in 1882, which is a few years before the Crescent Hotel just up the hill was even built. This is still an active church, not just a historic site, and there were people praying there on this day, so I didn't want to be distracting going around and getting photos, but I did snag a few video clips, and I took some photos on the outside as well. After that, we went just up the hill to the Crescent Hotel, which is probably best known for being super ghosty.
It was built in 1886, and it was built as a private luxury hotel by the railroad industry. And that wasn't making enough money. So in, I believe it was the 1920s, or maybe even 1910s, they started a girls' school there, the Crescent College and Conservatory for Young Ladies. Great Depression hit, and people really couldn't afford to send their daughters to fancy boarding schools anymore. And the hotel's been through several different hands, different owners. I believe it was the 60s, they had a fire there that destroyed one of the chimneys. It fell into the conservatory, burned that. And it was in rough shape for a while. And then the Rennicks, Marty and Elise Rennick, bought first the Basin Park Hotel downtown, started restoring it, and found out that the Crescent was in dire shape and needed restoration. And they bought it too and lovingly restored it. And it's a gorgeous resort today.
Kaity and I have been to Eureka Springs many times, and we had a lot of fun on this trip, and we had even more fun because of the added historical context. There's a lot of stuff that we couldn't even show you from this trip that happened. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, it was a great trip. Cheers, guys. See you in the next one.